You're listening to the Served Up Show, a podcast that features inspiring beverage professionals and topic experts that share their passions through meaningful content. Your hostesses, Bridget Albert, is best known as the Market Fresh Mixologist, an industry mentor with over 25 years of experience. And I'm Julie Milroy, best known for my passion for leading change and helping others grow in their careers. Grab a cocktail and sit back. Let's learn how we can make a positive impact in our industry.
Hey y'all, it's Bridget here. I'm delighted to introduce you to Monica Dubar, a sommelier whose journey from Denver to the sun-kissed shores of the Cayman Islands is as intoxicating as the wine she expertly curates. With a career that spans continents, Monica found her passion for wine while navigating the vibrant wine scene of Denver. However, it was her leap to the Caribbean where she landed a coveted position at the only 5-star resort in the region that truly defined her trajectory into the world of wine. Join us as Monica takes us on a voyage through her remarkable journey, sharing the stories, the challenges, and the triumphs that have shaped her career. From uncorking her first bottle to curating prestigious wine lists at a world-class resort, Monica's tale is one of dedication, resilience, and an unbridled passion for the art of wine. Get ready to be inspired as we raise our glasses to Monica, whose journey into the world of wine will undoubtedly leave you thirsting for more. So sit back, relax, grab yourself your favorite glass of wine, and enjoy the show. Monica, welcome to Served Up. I am so excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you, Bridget, for having me. It's absolutely an honor to be here and talk through my journey with you.
All right. Well, let's start off. Can you tell our listeners about your background? Where did you grow up and what really brought you into the wine world and ignited that passion that you have today?
Definitely. Well, Bridget, I grew up in Southwest Michigan, where it's really the fruit belt of Michigan, where you're surrounded by agriculture and farming and everything that really encompasses the hard work ethic really behind that. And truly, as I got older and really found my passion through wine, it always connected me back to those native roots of growing up in Michigan and understanding really what farming truly means and why in the wine world, as well as even in the spirits world, why our agriculture really means so much and less of a hand really when it comes to the world of wine and winemaking. And for me to be able to really understand that it truly starts in the field and the organic narrative really starts with organic farming. To really understand what that means as a child, it's really fantastic for me to be able to have this come full circle for me now as a sommelier, and to be able to recommend and to be able to buy particular wines. A lot of my questions really comes from that. And it comes from organic farming. It comes from, do you have a full-time team that actually goes in and harvests? Do you actually have those individuals, and do you really take care of their families? And, are we thinking about the next generation? All of those questions really mean a lot to me. And I always kind of find myself re-energizing those questions back to whoever I'm buying from, as well as when I'm telling the story on the dining room floor. I feel like that organic narrative really kind of comes out because it really means a lot to me.
Absolutely. It's so funny, like how much, I grew up and I currently live in a very small town outside of Chicago. I am surrounded by agriculture, and that has influenced my career 1,000%, always wanting to take Mother Nature's finest during that season, right? And putting it in a glass. Like my mother would never, ever have like cucumbers on our plate during the winter because they didn't grow in my grandfather's garden in the winter, right? So that was definitely something in the summer. So I totally understand and respect your point of view. Can you tell our listeners, when was that moment when you were like, wine, this is it for me. This is what I want to do. This is the world that I want to be in.
Well, being in the hospitality industry for over 2 decades, my introduction to hospitality was actually more on the rooms division and finance and revenue management and things that are a little bit more serious, right? And Bridget, as you've gotten to know me, I'm very passionate. And the connectivity really to an individual, that's really what makes me tick. And as much as I think that I really was very successful in my early career, there was still something missing. And, I did a lot of task force kind of in my early 20s, and I was able to really travel throughout the US. And really at the end of my day, I always seemed to connect with the food and beverage teams. And we'd be sharing a beer at the end of the night, a glass of wine. And I would always ask them about their day. And they would always be able to tell me about this connection. And it was really a connection that I didn't have at the front office. I didn't really have at the time of revenue management kind of sitting in my office, if you will. And I really thought to myself, man, I might be missing a mark. Like, am I on the wrong side of things? The food and beverage industry, I never really kind of thought about it. But really, why I love hospitality and why I love the hotel business so much, it seems like they are able to, get a little bit more of kind of that face time with the guest. And that's kind of, for me, what was missing for that. And so I was able to really kind of restart. And it was really through Lowe's Hotel. That was a 4-star hotel in Denver, Colorado. That really kind of gave me that first chance of restarting when it came to food and beverage. And I really kind of wanted to start and learn from the ground up. And really through that experience, I was able to really learn multiple positions, wear many hats. And it was actually through that experience, it was the aha moment that I was like, oh, it's through wine. Because I started to learn about wine and I started to hear about these stories. And at the end of my night, I would read a lot. And it was always this history behind it. And originally, I thought I really originally wanted to go to school for anthropology. But I really learned kind of really from the beginning. I'm like, coming from such a small town, I couldn't really wrap my head around that I could really make a career and be able to make money out of it. So hospitality was really kind of what took me from that. But my passion for anthropology, the study of people, the past, the present, really all of that truly encompasses the world of wine. And so I was able to bridge both of those really together. And that was really the aha moment that I could then transcend what I learned and how I'm able to learn others and learn the stories and to be able to then bring that on the dining room floor of the service and the song of dance of what we do in hospitality. And so I just absolutely love that. And it was really through that experience that I was like, this is what I really need to master. And this is really what I need to gravitate toward and really hone in on the wine world.
So was that where you started your journey, obviously, to become a sommelier?
That is correct. It was really through that. And our executive chef at the time, his wife worked at an Italian restaurant with an all Italian wine list. And really at the time, I was definitely so green and so new. But I'm very resilient and not necessarily scared to really learn new things. And it was through that I picked up a part-time job. And it was really through that experience that I really tried to really master my craft. And I have to be honest, Bridget, at the beginning, when I would open up this wine list, yeah, of course, being from Michigan, you do understand, the Bordeaux varietals and learning Napa and the US, but really learning all Italian was definitely a far stretch for me. But I was really surrounded by a great mentor and just a really great tribe where we were able to learn at our own pace. And I think that's very, very important. And at first, I was definitely afraid of when someone would open up that wine list and they would look at it. And I tell this story to new sommeliers really trying to get in the field because you always start somewhere. But it was really through that example that I was able to really find my resilience and to really study and to be disciplined to really learn this all Italian wine list. And if you could believe, by the time that I left there, I definitely mastered. And I just couldn't believe that the world of Italian wines and all the regions I really had down. And through that experience, it really gave me the confidence to then reach out to other areas of the world, specifically Napa and Burgundy. And really it was through that experience that I wasn't afraid then to go for my next promotion and to go for the next job that I only really saw many light years down the road.
Well, let's talk about what that next job was and what did it mean to you?
Definitely. So after the Italian restaurant, I met a gentleman who was also attending the Boutique Wine School, International Wine Guild, that was there in Denver, Colorado. And he owned a music venue. And it was also Italian-based food as well. But his love was the world of Napa and Sonoma. And so I was able to actually learn quite a bit from him. But through my experiences in hospitality and the way that, you welcome in your guest and the world of creating these once in a lifetime experiences, we were able to do that through the music venue because every day was completely different. We may have got, sometimes we would get a headlining band in, or sometimes we would have, local musicians and just the organic connectivity and really the magic that you can make that happen. It was a lovely change to kind of get out of the hotel world and be able to just kind of get into like this grassroots, and just everything was just so organic, and you never really knew what would happen or who would come through your door. But every day the common theme was great food, great vibes, great wines, great stories, family wines and the just anything that would kind of lead you into this really cool narrative that we could carry on. And it was really through that experience. I was like, oh, it's through events and it's through things that you can really create this magic. I was like, that's really what I want to hone in next and to be able to focus on. So then there was a head sommelier position that came open at the Ritz-Carlton. And as you can imagine, when you hear the world of Ritz-Carlton, you hear this, even for me now, I get these goosebumps and I think of this luxury feel. And I think of, the top 1% of hospitality professionals. And I thought to myself, wow, am I ready? And my previous place, I was the beverage director where I was really managing the cocktails and the whole program. And I was really even kind of getting into the music scene. But here, what I really wanted to focus on is the luxury segment of it and the luxury segment of what the Ritz-Carlton means. And more than anything, the type of guest that you would be able to get in, right? And to be able to hone in on the luxury good that maybe my previous positions, I didn't necessarily have the exposure to. We weren't cracking open, DRCs, but when I was able to get the opportunity working for the Ritz-Carlton, I certainly was able to understand some of those some of the world of wine when it comes to the luxury feel and the luxury allocations that only this company could obtain. And so I'd worked there for a little over 5 years. And the restaurant that had just so happened to be inside the Ritz-Carlton was John Elway Steakhouse. So it was not only the Ritz that, I was able to gravitate toward and learn and grow, but it was also having a destination restaurant of, famous football players and the world of John Elway and everybody being so supportive when it came to a local feel in Denver. So that really kind of fast forward my education and exposure to the wines I just never was able to get my hands on. And so through really that experience, I was able to, again, build your tribe and kind of learn at your pace and to be able to grow something at your own and really put your mark on it. And so really through those 5.5 years, I was really able to do that and had a really great boss in the beginning to be able to really kind of take me in and to kind of, explain what the world of Ritz-Carlton really means and where my career could really be. And, he told me one thing. He said, treat this as like it would be your own business. Treat this as like your own money. When you're buying these goods, would you buy this for yourself or somebody really trying to just sell this on you? Like really make it meaningful and make it meaning, because this is going to be your legacy. You're not necessarily buying for yourself right now to sell. You're buying for the legacy for the next 5 to 10 years. And, your successors will continue to tell your story through your buying. And I never really, at the time, I didn't necessarily understand that, but I really took that to heart. And, that was a great, those were great words of wisdom, because it really set the tone for me to, number one, take it on as my own and really to feel the empowerment to be able to be behind it and feel, be backed up really by those, by the words from him. And so really through that, I wasn't really afraid. I was very resilient when I didn't necessarily know these wines. I really took the time to educate myself and dedicate myself to my studies and ask many questions. That's another thing too, is sometimes we get to a specific position and we might be afraid to ask those questions and we might be a little shy. And what I would recommend to those is don't be shy, because the ones in the back that ask them more of the questions, those are actually the ones that are very inquisitive. They're the ones where, their mind doesn't necessarily stop. And so I really wanted to take that on for myself. So that way, then the education piece never really shuts off, because the more that you learn about the world of wine, the more you realize you don't know. And that's truly okay. Because again, we're going at our own pace. Working at the Ritz-Carlton, then I was able then to meet other, sommeliers in my position. And more than anything, too, I was able to go on sommelier trips that were then hosted by wineries. I was able to go through Pinot Camp. And again, I just received this exposure that I never had before. And honestly, I didn't take it for granted. I really signed up for everything, and I would take the tastings. And if there was a new vintage or whatever you wanted to teach me, I was really there to learn. And I think it really fast forwarded my success. And then working for the Ritz-Carlton about 2 years in, I met a gentleman by the name of Michael Kennedy. And, his story is very strong here in Grand Cayman, because he was once the head sommelier here for Blue by Eric Repair. And then we were actually able to connect. And then he actually left here and started his own wine company, Vin Fresh. And he also was the winemaker at the time. And again, it was through his connections that he was able to start this company. And in 2014, I think that was the year, he started his company with 2 barrels of Petit Verdot, really showcasing the best of single vineyard, single varietal, but at the highest quality possible. And again, who doesn't want to tell that story? And now, he has 4 wineries underneath his belt. And through the pandemic, we were always connected, but I never had the chance to really fully understand his wine. And through the pandemic, the first couple of months, of course, like anyone else, we were all laid off, right? And he called me one day. He goes, I'm sure that, you're just as scared as the rest of the Somm community, but everything's going to be okay. And he goes, I'm going to send you a case of wine, and you call me when you open that up. And sure, he totally did. And within a few weeks, I put one of those bottles, and I'm like, single vineyard Semillon. Okay. Never really heard of old vine Semillon coming out of Napa, but this should be interesting. And I'm home all alone. My wife's still working, and I put it in the refrigerator, and I text him and I said, man, this wine is absolutely amazing. Like, can you call me? And he calls me, right? And we're talking on the phone for like 45 minutes, and we're geeking out about this wine. And I just couldn't get over it. And maybe it's because I hadn't tasted some good wines in a couple of weeks. I'm not really sure, but I just really couldn't get over it. I was so taken back by the quality of his wine and more than anything, the future of where this gentleman was going. That before we hung up on that phone, he offered me a job and I took the job without talking to anyone else. And so I didn't really know where that was really going to take us. But he said, you could have the whole state of Colorado and you could sell all of my wines. And I'm like, all right, well, the first thing we need to do is get your wines into Colorado. So I talked to a small boutique producer that I had built a great relationship with. And I told him, hey, I'm going to be the sales manager. Like, this is going to be really a win-win for both of us. And I believe strongly in this. And for me, because I came from the buyer world, I had a strong community of buyers that I feel like I could really, bring these wines. And I felt like there was a place in the city, and I strongly felt like there was a place in the state for his wines. And so we really started doing that. And I started carrying a case of wine, just like a sales rep, right? And it was great for me to understand the other side of it. I always gravitated toward the individual who was selling me wines, and always built strong relationships. And I think that through those strong relationships, I was able to understand a natural sales act. It wasn't even sales; it's just naturally where I think these wines belong. And this is the common thread of these wines. And looking at a wine list, I could see a hole. Because as a buyer, I could note, oh, you're missing this, you're missing that. And that was more of that, of like how I could help then build your program a little bit better based on kind of what I had. So that was a great experience to be able to work. And I worked directly for him when we'd have our weekly calls. He was always there. So he was always constantly guiding me and connecting me to individuals that were definitely more connected than me in the world of wine. And then, of course, the Ritz-Carlton calls me back. And
of course they did.
Yeah, right. And they just wanted to let me know, hey, we're not ready to bring you back just quite yet, but we wanted to let you know that your job's not getting eliminated and we are bringing you back. And I thought that was really important for me to hear, because at this point, now we're going on like 5 months, and there was a few rounds of calls that were given that said, hey, this position's not going to be moving forward, or we're not going to keep this position. And, the whole world really went through that. And so for me, I was really ready to take on that call. But for me, I couldn't sit still, and I had to I couldn't let my future just be sitting there. So I was ready with this backup plan with Michael Kennedy and working for Ben Fresh. But when they called me, I said, I just want to let you know that I have taken this other position. However, I think that this other position that they could really go into too. And I really was able to I identify what I believe kind of this hybrid position could be. And as much as they couldn't necessarily give me all the hours, I didn't necessarily need all the hours at that time, because I could be able to build what I had already kind of started. And so then when they called me back, and they were ready to bring me back full time, they did inform me that my position would now be changed just a little bit. That now I had to take on a little bit more of managerial, duties, which I didn't mind, because as you could imagine, when you came back from the pandemic, there was this nurturing attribute that I really needed to bring, where I think women bring to the workforce, that was really important, because things coming off the pandemic, we didn't really know. Those things were so uncertain. And, you had to do the social distancing, or you had to have these tables 6 feet, and, you couldn't congregate. And there was just all these rules and shutdowns, and just everything was just completely different. And as much as I had to be flexible with that, I felt like at the time I had a little bit of power to then ask them, well, hey, I need you all to be just a little bit more flexible, kind of really with me. And they were willing to do it. And so not only did I was able to kind of sell wine and go see my friends throughout the day, but then around that 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock time, when it was time for me to go hit the floor with the Ritz-Carlton and John Elway's, then I could still kind of tell the story. And the wines were a big success, and I was able to kind of do both, and it was just a really great feeling to be able to build something really, really special. And then to also to really bring back the restaurant as a relaunch through the pandemic. We kind of really stopped talking about that. But I know those were definitely hard and kind of dark times for my friends out there in the restaurant and in the hotel business, because it was just so different and so uncertain, and the service levels that we were just so used to. Some of those things we just couldn't do, and you just had to call audibles every single day. But really, kind of through that, again, you just really find your resilience, and you find, or for me, I was able to really build trust with the team. And really through that, they were willing to really kind of do anything, because then we all had the same mission to relaunch really our brand, and not to really skip a step and skip a beat. And I think that's kind of what we were able to do through that. And then through the pandemic, there was a position open in Puerto Rico as a director of beverage for the Ritz-Carlton Reserve. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Reserve properties, Bridget, but through the Ritz-Carlton, there's then a few. I think there's 6 in the world. Don't quote me there.
Yes, I'm very familiar with. I would love to go to all of them. Thank you.
Yeah, same.
Don't
so
we
then
all?
There was a position that came open. I was like, all right, a Ritz-Carlton Reserve. It's like, wow, the top 1% of the 1%. Like, what does that even mean, right? And so I was able to go through that interview process. I unfortunately didn't get the position, and that's absolutely okay, because then it got me on this list, or individuals knew that I was open to moving, that I was open to again mastering my craft. Like, what's really next for me. There was an individual, the current director of food and beverage, Keisha. She reached out to Michael, who again was the head sommelier here, and really did a lot. He was the beverage director for Cayman Cookout for many years, and they had really built a strong relationship. And so she reached out to him and said, I'm looking for a beverage manager. Do you know of anyone? And he goes, well, I do, but she works for me, and she already works for the Ritz-Carlton, and it probably would take a lot for you to get her there. And of course, the next day I have an email, right? And it's from her. And of course, I'm like, wow, Grand Cayman, like, are you kidding me? This resort is, it's my bucket list. And the stories that Michael Kennedy would talk about, and how his career just absolutely flourished coming from here. I'm like, I can only see just, again, the possibilities. And for here, they were looking for somebody that then would also run not only the wine program, but also the spirits program. And again, not just one restaurant, but then 6 outlets, and a few outlets, concepts with really within the concept. And also I would really be a big part in Blue by Eric Repair, which is our fine dining tasting menu. Well, I was talking with a few guests back in Denver, and I was a little hesitant and reluctant at the time, because I had such a great thing going on in Denver. And, it's hard to leave when you're the cool kid in town, and everything's great, right? And everything's going, you don't really have many challenges, and you're just like really living that high. But at the same time, that wasn't all of me. And I was kind of ready, and my wife was very supportive. And, even when we first started dating, I always kind of told her, I want to live internationally, and I want to, I really love diversity. And even going back to my childhood, when you're growing up in Southwest Michigan, you live around a lot of diversity because you have migrant workers. And growing up as a kid, my friends, they would be there. I would hang out with them all summer long, and we would go to school in the fall time. And then, of course, when it started to get cold, all my friends would go back to the South. They would go back to Texas, where then their family then could continue to support themselves. And my parents had to really teach me at a young age, really all about diversity, and how every family's different, and not everybody kind of goes in the same box. And that really resided with me. And it did as an adult, because now I learn here in Grand Cayman, we have so many countries that live here, right? Over 100 different countries. And could you imagine living with that diversity? I rarely see an American. I have more Canadians around me than Americans here. And I never even had that much, influence of even Canadians. And just the world, this international world, I just couldn't imagine me not coming here and being able to naturally grow into where I am today. And so, yeah, it's been a wonderful experience. Of course, then coming here as the beverage director or the beverage manager, it's a big place, as you know, coming here for Cayman Cooking. So it's not just all about managing and being the best of what it is, and being that trendsetter for the Ritz-Carlton. But also there was a bit of disconnect when it comes to the products that you're able to obtain here on an island. So that was kind of my first challenge here, right? Coming from a major market where I have everything at my disposal and everything at my fingertips. Now I had to be a little bit more creative. I'm like, what do you mean I can't get pea flower gin? What do you mean I can't get these wines?
Right.
The same wines I see on my wine list, I'm seeing everywhere. And I'm seeing in at places where you wouldn't necessarily see them at the Ritz-Carlton. So at first, my work was definitely cut out for me. But my director was very supportive of my vision. And I think that's very important, of the empowerment piece and the culture, that entrepreneur spirit. You really have to have it in you, to really, have success here, because they really depend on that for you, because your directors have their own job and they're doing their own thing, where really everyone's empowered to make their own legacy, in this company. And as the company is expanding, our roles are kind of expanding for that. And they're looking then for their next leader. And as the company grows. And so that culture really, really trickles down all the way from the top to the bottom. And it's really kind of through that culture and through the findings and through the mentorship that I'm able to really, foster and really work through any of those challenges. And more than anything, I have faith in the process, to really kind of work through it. And I feel supported. And all the successes that we find here on the resort, nothing happens overnight, and you do nothing on your own. I have an army here, and as you know, coming here for Cayman Cookout, you need that army to make anything happen. And there's a lot of magic that happens here every single day. And it's all of us that are really dedicated to our future and dedicated to what the world of the Ritz-Carlton and really what that means to all of us, including our own families. As you could imagine, Bridget, when I called my folks, right, the first time, I go, you won't even believe it. I actually landed that job at the Ritz-Carlton, and they're just like, wow. Or like I tell my grandparents, they've never even stepped into a Ritz-Carlton until recently, right? And they're just like wowed by it. And so even when you say the name, even to my family, like I said, 99% of my family members have never even stepped into the Ritz-Carlton. But there is this mystique. There is this, magic that kind of takes over, that it's, wow, it is the best of the best. And this is the creme de la creme. And what did you do? And also, what do you need to do to really kind of maintain that? So, so that's kind of where we're at here. And, every day's different. And as you know, you were here for Cayman Cookout, and you were a top talent. So thank you very much for coming this year. As you notice, it's all about kind of the organic feel, the good feel.
It is. There's just a welcoming hospitality that is so warm and so genuine and authentic. You really feel like you're part of the family, which is very much appreciated when you're coming in from, the outside. I do want to take it back. I do have several questions for you. Your journey is so fascinating, Monica. Oh my God, we need to write a book about you. We need to get that done. Okay. I want to take it back because one thing that you mentioned, during the pandemic, it was really, important for you as a woman to step in and really be kind of that soft place to land, right? for your team. When we talk about being a woman in the industry, and especially being a sommelier, when in the past it's really been male driven, just like on my side of things, on the spirit side, it's always been that male driven. Are you seeing a change within the diversity of the wine world as far as the leaders? And are you seeing more females entering the game as sommeliers?
You certainly are. And when, for me, I was really lucky enough. And also when you do wear a name tag at the Ritz-Carlton, I think that gentlemen do extend a little bit more of the hospitality of being a lady or gentleman. However, I would say in the year of 2018, when I first started, here's a prime example. I was invited to from the Somm Journal, and the Wine Scholar Guild was doing an Italian kind of a master class at Denver University. And when I think there was maybe 70 of us, 75 of us that were invited. And halfway through our training, it was an all-day training class. Halfway through it, they announced they were going to do a blind tasting. And I was like, all right, well, why not, right? I was tasting all these Napa wines working at the steakhouse. And of course, my initial love for wine was Italian wines. And I said, why not? We might as well do it. And as much as I was nervous, it doesn't really matter. It's not that big of a deal. Stop being so scared in life and just go out and do it. But I noticed after we all were finished, we were in line for lunch, and I hear all these guys behind us, and they're all, just talking smack to each other. And they're like, oh, it was this wine and that wine. And I was like, man, these guys are way off. I was like, that wine was definitely not that. And I was like, that vintage was definitely not like that. And I was like keeping all these things in my in my own mind. And of course, I wasn't saying anything, just being quiet. And of course, when they announced the winner, they announced third place, second place. And of course, I was never in a million years ever thinking that they would call my name, right? And guess what? Boom, they call my name. And I could not
Amazing.
And all these guys were like, literally, I can hear them talking shit behind me, at a different table, right? And it's actually two women that were first, or that were third place, second place, and first place was me. And you should have, a pin drop could have happened in that room, because everyone just immediately shut up, and I just could not believe it. And it was really kind of through that it was because it was definitely a male dominant, I think, kind of world really up until then. And, the sommelier who runs Tavernetto was really kind of getting her started. There was a few of us that were kind of coming up really right around that time. But I think that was really an eye-opening experience, that it wasn't definitely a male world when it came to the Denver scene, if you will. And again, just trying to kind of find your tribe. And as you see, when we would go to luncheons and tastings, that really, I started then become a mentor really to others. And more than anything, I feel like I'm very inclusive, and I really try to extend that hospitality. And certainly when I can do that for a woman, I most certainly do, as well as I do gentlemen as well. But if there's definitely a woman that I can extend that to or introduce her, I definitely try to go out of my way to accomplish that.
Yeah, that's really incredible, because, I think that we have to support each other within our careers and within our personal journeys as well. So that's a beautiful thing that you're doing. Can you tell our listeners what the heck the Cayman Cookout is?
Yeah,
how did it come to be? Who attends? What is it? Because, oh my God, folks, I was there this year and I was blown away.
Yes. So Cayman Cookout, we celebrated our 15th anniversary this year. And Cayman Cookout is the Caribbean's most highly anticipated, most highly loved, and near and dear to everyone's heart, a food and wine festival that is held every year over Martin Luther King birthday, that weekend, right? As most Americans celebrate that time, and most Americans are typically off during that time, it was really a great opportunity for us to be able to showcase this here in Grand Cayman. And really, it's a love child of Chef Eric Repair. And through his relationships then with Anthony Bourdain and Chef Jose Andres, and really it was it was really kind of their idea to be able to come in and bring this explosion of connectivity, to be able to bring all these chefs together all in one place and offer and such an intimate experience where you're able to get up and close and be able to understand a little bit more of the personality and be able to understand a little bit more of the heart when it comes to the culinary scene. But of course, as it's grown over the last 15 years, we have kind of the same headlining chefs each year that really kind of bring the heart and soul. And of course, Chef Jose Andres and Chef Eric Repair definitely leading the charge when it comes to that. The others kind of come in and out based on what everyone has going on and what they're trying to showcase. This year, we were able to get Kwame and a few others, Kristen Kish and others that really are trailblazers and trendsetters in today's field. But of course, what comes along with that is beverage, right? You can have the best food, but things don't get. We need some laughs along the way. And that's really what then the beverage world kind of comes around, where you get master sommeliers, where you get, of course, the best of the mixologists, where we're able to get you, Bridget, and the Charles Jolies of the world, and everyone. And we get everyone down here again with one mission, and that is just to showcase our master of arts, and to really welcome everyone in at the highest level possible when it comes to the hospitality level. And just everyone is bringing their A game. And more than anything, it is the best vibes. It is the best energy. You cannot recreate this anywhere else in the world, because we've done it for so long. And just everyone, even the guests, we get about a third of our guests that are repeat guests, that come back. They're what we call our legacy guests, that come back every year, and they all know each other. They follow each other on social media. And we now have this family then that supports what we do. And every year, we have some of the same events that, but then of course we change things up and we don't repeat things. So it's events that you could have 5 guests at, or you could have maybe 500 guests at. It just really all depends. And again, every year we really try to surprise and delight and bring something new and trend setting. And it's actually in the middle of the Caribbean, if you can even imagine that.
Yeah, it is pure sunshine. It really is. It was by far one of the best festivals I've ever been to in my 30 years in the industry, which is a long time. But what I thought was so neat is how intimate the events are. Yes, some of them have 500. We were at the Goo Goo Dolls, performed at a concert, which was absolutely incredible. But how accessible the talent is, it's amazing.
You're absolutely right. One specific activation that we did is with the winemaker from Opus One, Michael Salashi. And right before I left to come to Denver, I had just, I was able to connect with the CEO of Opus One, and we had built a great relationship. And I remember telling Scott, I said, could you imagine if this all came full circle and we were able to bring Opus One to Cayman Cookout? And that actually happened this year. And Michael was able to come down and bring a passion project of his through yeast strands. And so he was able to take Opus One and make it the exact same way. However, just one small little bit was changed. And that was the actual yeast strand that he was able to get from 5 different yeast strands. And that was either from a bark, or it was from something that was from the field, or wherever he found that he knew that would actually just slightly change the wine. And court dorks like myself can actually pick up on the subtle nuances of that. And so not only did he have his own masterclass, but he was so gracious enough, he actually did that same class with a sommelier team here from the Ritz-Carlton. So it's moments like that. Who would ever even imagine? That was not even on the schedule. But we just so happened to have just a little bit of wine just left. And of course, again, stop being scared to ask the question. It's always going to be no if you don't ask. And he was absolutely nice enough to do that. And again, we were able to connect. And I hosted him at the Goo Goo Dolls. And so again, I'm at the Goo Goo Dolls with the winemaker from Opus One. It's definitely a dream come true.
Yeah, life is good. Would you be open to doing a lightning round?
What's a lightning round?
I'm going to ask you some rapid fired questions, and whatever comes to the top of your sweet mind, you just spit out.
Right.
What is the best wine you ever tasted?
Salon champagne.
Ooh, red or white?
White.
Cork or screw cap?
Cork.
Old world or new world?
Whole world.
Best wine under $20?
Ooh.
Ooh.
I would say Massimo Rivetti, Barbera di Asti.
Ah, okay. What is the most overrated wine trend?
Ooh. Most overrated wine trend. I would say over voluptuous 100-point Napa Cabernets.
What's the most underrated wine region?
All right, I'm going to go home with this one, and I'm going to say Lake Michigan AVA.
Ooh, all right. Yeah. That's very cool.
I got to give my hometown a little shout out.
Yes, you do. Wine with cheese or wine with chocolate?
Wine with cheese.
What is your favorite wine-related movie?
I'm going to go Sideways.
I thought you'd probably say that. If you could only drink... If you could only drink one wine varietal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Barbaresco.
I love it. I love it. Monica, I want to thank you so much for coming on Served Up. This has been just so much fun. I hope that you'll come back again as a repeat guest. Your story is absolutely fascinating. And I know my biggest takeaway from your story is just really never be afraid to ask the question, is to be bold. And I think that you've really inspired so many today with your journey.
Well, thank you, Bridget, for having me. I sincerely appreciate it. And just the organic connection that you and I have, I hope that we continue to build on that.
We absolutely will. And you know, with that said, Monica, I just want to wish you some great health and a lot of peace. Cheers to you.
Right back at you.
Thanks for listening. Served Up is brought to you by Southern Glazers Wine and Spirits. Produced by Zunu.online. Music by We Kill the Lion can be found on Spotify. Make sure to subscribe to be notified of future Served Up episodes. Cheers!